The Almaty Zoo is one of the oldest zoos in Kazakhstan. It has been operating for over 80 years now. There are almost 3,000 animals and birds, and every single inhabitant of the zoo has its own amazing story. We have already covered one story in one of the earlier episodes of our series. This story began in the Kostanay region. Young Pelican fell behind his flock. The bird would have died of starvation and cold, but fortunately was found by kind people. The red-listed pelican was brought to the Almaty Zoo. This young bird hatched out late. It was able to fly, but its wings were not strong enough. This is the third chick that gets into the zoo for this reason. One landed somewhere in Talgar, the second one in the capital of Kazakhstan. They are forced to land in the middle of the city because their wings are not strong enough. The rescued pelican was named Khalif. We haven't seen this bird in almost a year. We want to see how Khalif is doing, whether it adapted well in the new place. When we brought the pelican in, it was light as a feather. How much does it weigh now? Not less than 8 to 10 kilograms. Was it accepted into the flock? Of course they accepted it. It turned out to be a leader. Khalif tried to bully everyone there, even though it was the youngest one. Bird with a temper, isn't it? Exactly, it got the temper. When it grows up, will it become the leader of the flock? It is a leader already. Let's say if the birds are coming to feed, Khalif is the first in line. Or if the flock is sitting, it is trying to sit above the rest, watches everyone, and others just look at Khalif. Thank you for cheering up our filming crew. It is raining right now, and we'll go see our pelican.
Khalif.
The Almaty Zoo is one of the most visited places in the city. There are many children at the zoo. Where else can children see an amiable giraffe, an inhabitant of the African savanna, or lazy turtles, whose homeland are the sultry deserts of Asia? And what kid could walk past funny marmosets? These amazingly charming little creatures came from Africa. The most favorite animals of kids are meerkats, agile, emotional, with big expressive eyes. Look at these beauties. Kids also love them because of cartoons like Madagascar and The Lion King. Looks like they are constantly in search of food, entertainment, and new emotions. Meerkats are closest relatives of mongooses. They are predators and live in the harsh conditions of Kalahari Desert. Their diet includes scorpions and venomous snakes deadly to humans. But meerkats are very friendly to people and harmless. Zoo is the place where children learn about wildlife in all its diversity. Here we have local species of animals and birds, as well as exotic ones. Local photo artists Natalia Savorskaya and Maxim Zolotuhin believe that in the age of gadgets, this is especially important. They brought their daughter to the zoo for the first time. For children, zoos are important. Some adults don't really appreciate zoos. You know, animals in captivity, it's not something you like seeing. Children need this more than adults. Therefore, they exist. I completely agree. Many people say, release the animals, close zoos. But is this the right thing to do? In part, yes. There is probably some kind of logic to it. Wild animals should live in the wild. This is natural and right. We people need to somehow coexist with them harmoniously. In our daily lives, animals exist as pets like dogs and cats. It is understandable that wild animals should live free in the wild. I repeat myself once again. I believe children need zoos more than adults. Zoos are not only places of entertainment, they are also scientific institutions. Animals here are studied, preserved. In the wild, this is sometimes impossible because there are animals which you can only find in zoos. Thanks to zoos, they continue to exist. Here we have Tyra, an inhabitant of the rainforests of South America, from the weasel family. A wonderful predator, restless, agile animal. Tyra climbs trees pretty well and can travel long distances in search of its prey. It has a great sense of smell. Tyra's prey for squirrels, hares, as well as birds. A couple of these exotic animals arrived in the Almaty Zoo from Russia. This year they had offspring, 3 young. Alexander Gurnev, the head of the exotarium, has been watching them. Alexander is a true connoisseur of nature, fully devoted to his profession. He came to the zoo as a young naturalist during his school years. Alexander warns us not to bother the young. Mother Tyra might not like it. She selflessly protects its cubs from any dangers. This winter, we observed a funny pair of new settlers from Australia, a pair of kangaroos. We worried about how they would endure their first wintering in a new place. But the animals were not cold. The heating system was working full blast in renovated aviary all winter. Male Marat and the shy female Lara were indulging on cabbage, corn, carrots, and alfalfa with great appetite. They seemed to settle down quite comfortably in the zoo. Not so long ago, Lara gave birth to a small kangaroo. Look at the way the little kangaroo is sitting in the pouch. Look at the head. It will spend 5 months with his mother. Warmth, milk, mom nearby. What else to wish for? A female kangaroo is pregnant for only 40 days. But it will carry its joey in a pouch for another 6 months. Young kangaroo will become independent only after 18 months. But even after leaving the pouch, the mother will take care of the offspring. Kangaroos are special animals. The female can give birth and within 6 months get pregnant again. But until first joey becomes independent, the development of new embryo is halted. As soon as the firstborn gets stronger, the female's body will resume the development of the fetus. This is the unique ability of this animal. There are a lot of young animals in the Almaty Zoo. 2 Cameroon goats, a tapir, 4 chicks of an eagle owl, porcupines, an emu, 3 ring-tailed lemurs and a Japanese macaque, a chick of the Himalayan vulture and a roe deer. The ring-tailed lemurs that live in the house of primates have also an addition to their family. This is an endangered species of lemur. They rarely breed in captivity. That is why the appearance of lemur's offspring in the zoo is such a wonderful event. Ring-tailed lemurs have an addition to their family. Others had twins. See how she hides the cubs, wrapping them with her tail. All members of the Lemurs family take part in raising the offspring. The family usually consists of 2 females and 1 male. When mother gets tired, the second female takes care of the cubs, and males sometimes carry the young on their backs. Father's name is Kun, mother's Aza. The couple arrived from France. The head of the primate section, Shulpan Abdibekova, named the cub Julian. Little lemur was born very weak and was unable to eat. Its mother turned out not to have enough milk. The baby was losing weight day by day. That's why it was taken from its mother. Shulpan feeds little lemur every 2 hours. Julian got so used to his adoptive mother and is practically tamed. The cub is feeling well, grows agile and playful, purrs like a kitten. And most importantly, it gained the missing weight, almost 20 grams. As soon as the cub begins to eat solid food on its own, it will be reunited with its mother. Another unique animal that was recently introduced to the Almaty Zoo is tapir. It belongs to odd-tailed ungulates. Tapir resembles a pig with some distinctions. This is a rather stately animal with strong legs, short tail and slender neck. Recently, the first tapir offspring was born at the Almaty Zoo. The piglet is covered with stripes and stains. This color protects it in the wild. 6 months later, the stripes will disappear and it will look just like its parents. Tapirs are clumsy but very trustful. They are easy to tame. It is very friendly, and I would say it has a great appetite. In South America, this is probably the main food for all hunters, fishermen, and the local population, because it is in fact a pig. Such a peaceful and kind animal has a lot of enemies in the wild. Tigers, jaguars, anacondas and bears prey on tapirs on the plains. Crocodiles are waiting for them in the waters. But the main enemies of tapirs are humans. They hunt them and cut down forests, their natural habitats. So the number of tapirs is declining and the species was listed in the Red Book. The upper lip of the tapir resembles a trunk. That is probably why some people assume that these exotic animals are related to mammoths. With the help of a trunk, tapir plucks leaves and collects fruits. Tapir's favorite treat is salt. In captivity, animals are fed with fruits, grass, vegetables, and dry nutrients necessary for them. Look at that nose, astonishing. It is like a fifth hand, and teeth, what a massive fang. He wants the treat. Look at him drooling. We should give it a slice of this apple. Well, okay, here you go. The animal exchange program between the world zoos helps the Almaty Zoo to create its own collection of animals and birds of great scientific value. Before that, most of the animal stock was culled. The reason was the old age of most animals, the uncontrolled reproduction which led to weak and sick offspring. Hence, there was the high mortality rate and loss of reputation. Today, the Almaty Zoo actively restores relations with the zoos in the CIS countries and abroad, works on preserving the animal gene pool, and constantly enlarges its collection. In 2018, the litter amounted to 579 animal units, including African giraffe, Indian crested porcupines, blue wildebeest, Saiga antelopes, zebras, ponies, and many others. Another 46 rare animals were acquired or received through the exchange program from other zoos. This tiny black pony was born just 10 days ago. It feeds only on mother's milk. It doesn't even eat tasty fresh alfalfa. Fertility is a key indicator of how well animals feel at the zoo. Next to the aviary of the black pony, there is another happy family of odd-toed ungulates, the zebras. We are so pleased that babies are born in the zoo. This indicates that everything is fine with parents, with food, with climate and animal care. How often are ponies and zebras born here? This pony was born just 12 days ago. It got up on its feet almost right away and started to drink mother's milk. There were no problems with it. And what about zebras? They are practically like donkeys, only from Africa. Do they have specific diet? How do you feed this little zebra and its parents? A newborn zebra feeds on mother's milk. And over time it gets accustomed to our feed. The diet consists of hay, alfalfa and forage herbs, cereals, barley and oats, and some fresh feed like carrots. Do ponies get the same? Yes, we give ponies the same feed. Saiga antelopes are the pride of the Almaty Zoo. There were times when millions of steppe antelopes inhabited the steppes of Kazakhstan. In the end of the last century, due to uncontrolled hunting, Saiga antelopes stood on the brink of extinction. A few years ago, a pair of these even-toed animals was introduced to the Almaty Zoo. This year they had an offspring. A unique case in the Almaty Zoo. Two little Saiga antelopes were born. There are no Saiga antelopes in any other zoo in the world. Giving birth of offspring in captivity is a very rare event. I try not to come close because it is an extremely cautious animal. Even the enclosure is situated in the most quiet area of the zoo. Keeping Saiga antelopes in captivity is very difficult due to their extreme timidity. Getting scared, the animal takes off running at a high speed and hits the walls of the enclosure, which might lead to injuries. In zoos, Saiga antelopes often die due to gastrointestinal diseases and infections. Young animals rarely live up to a year. Saigas are extremely cautious and timid animals which are very difficult to tame. There were dozens of cases when wild animals were captured and placed in a big aviary, and they would crash on the walls of the aviary even though these walls were laid out with reeds. And here we have little ones born. It is extremely difficult to grow calves in captivity. See, the mother had left and the calves are lagging behind. Come here, little one. Kill. Newborn Saigas are enjoying the special diet developed for them at the zoo, which takes into account all the age-related features of the development of these artiodactyls. Young animals are fed with diluted fresh milk, to which they add mashed egg yolk as well as mineral and vitamin supplements. The transition to plant food is carried out gradually over a 3 months period. Little Saiga antelopes born in captivity do not fear humans that much and are less prone to stress. Little Saigas are doing great here. These are perky, healthy animals with great appetite. They always listen to their mother. Although, if the mother goes to a fresh feeder and plunks a few leaves from it, little Saigas would not do the same. This ancient antelope species is very cautious and has developed strong self-preservation instincts. We were struck by what we have just witnessed. Little Saiga antelopes, calves in captivity. We have spoken to colleagues from the Moscow Zoo. In 2010, they received 25 Saigas, and until 2014, they not only failed to have them breed, they lost this population. Therefore, it is a unique animal. I think we should be proud. They don't just live in our zoo, they reproduce. In 2019, we had an offspring of 2 Saigas. What is the purpose of the zoo? I think zoos are important. First, that is where rare species are being preserved. This is important. Children are the second reason. Where else in the wild will you be able to see a Saiga? But in the zoo, you can see them and explain to the kids what kind of the animal it is. The Almaty Zoo enters a new stage. Colleagues from the zoos around the world exchange animals, but they will not send good specimens to an undeveloped zoo. It is necessary to comply with strict international standards. Today, all conditions are being created for the Almaty Zoo to become the best in Central Asia. We just finished our walk through the zoo, saw a lot of interesting things, good aviaries. We saw many kids, which is pleasing. What are the plans of the Almaty Zoo for the near future? What are you planning to do? We are currently building aviaries for snow leopards, for bears and wolves. We have already received the wolves. We have a pack of cubs under quarantine now. We intend to relocate them to the aviaries as soon as they are ready. Why? Because these aviaries are built in compliance with international standards. The project of large-scale reconstruction of the Almaty Zoo was developed by the Peter Rasbach Architectural Bureau. There are projects of zoos in Düsseldorf, Berlin, Tehran, Dubai and Turin in its portfolio. This project involves the restructuring of 90% of the zoo on the principle of geographical zoning. Previously, animals were settled according to the type of species. All bears in bear section, all primates in primate section, and so on. Modern zoos are now moving to the continental system. One zone will have animals of the African continent, another all animals of Asia, third zone animals of South America. They will build safe and comfortable aviaries. In this new concept, a lot of attention was given to the construction of winter pavilions. I think this fall will complete these aviaries and transfer wolf cubs there. We also have one bad corner, the remnants from the Soviet era, where our Himalayan bears live at the moment. We'll move them to the new aviary as well. It is not an aviary as such, more of a ditch, very beautiful. There is still a pending issue of snow leopards aviary. We'll finish building it. Our curator, Mr. Marx, will come and inspect our aviary on compliance with all European standards. Then we'll have the right to get a leopard for our excellent aviary. The reconstruction of the zoo is partly funded by private investors. For example, philanthropists reconstructed summer rhinos exposition. Now the representatives of the African fauna can enjoy their new canopies, which create a shadow zone, new tree trunks for scratching, and protective ditch instead of old metal fences around their aviary. Would you say that you are aiming to create environment as close to natural for animals so they don't feel trapped? First of all, we are building new cozy aviaries. They are large, and if you look inside, it does feel like nature. We must also not forget that 90% of the animals we receive are from other zoos. There is an exchange. The animals that we receive, they are not taken from the wild. They were born in other zoos. Take our most famous bear, Alko. It was born in 1989 in Kaliningrad. He arrived in 1990. He is considered a long liver because they usually live about 25 years, and he has been with us for 29 years. This year will celebrate his 30th anniversary. If you convert it into human years, he will turn, roughly speaking, around 100 years. He is 12th in the list of 272 world's centenarian bears. Annually, dozens of animal species irreversibly disappear from nature. Sometimes only human intervention can preserve these species. Some animals from zoos are released into their original areas of habitat. This happened in the Altynn National Park, where Przewalski horses were brought to from German zoos. And horses gave offspring. A bold experiment continues to this day. Zoos and nature reserves have taken on the mission of reviving this species of wild horse. It is interesting that even in captivity, Przewalski horses didn't lose their habits and wild temper. These are strong and hardy individuals, often coming out victorious in fights with domestic stallions. Here we met our old friends, Przewalski's horses. Just last year, we filmed them in the Altynn National Park. Apparently, the horses are doing just fine here. They are feeling quite well. Here, take it. Let's leave them a treat and not bother them any longer. There are always many visitors next to Siberian tiger cages. The largest cat on the planet is now on the verge of extinction and therefore is red-listed. Tigers live in captivity for about 18 years. The predator is already accustomed to people's attention and spends its days looking at them proudly and indifferently from its pedestal. The old pond in the park is teeming with life. Geese, swans, ducks, a good dozens of species, rustling like merchants on the bazaar, arguing, diving for food, scurrying back and forth. Only graceful swans calmly and leisurely cut through the water surface. They don't tolerate other birds next to them, except pelicans. Those are allowed to swim in their area. Pelicans live in colonies, and swans during mating season live in pairs. They are also very territorial and need a large territory for breeding. They don't tolerate competitors. Are they also aggressive towards other swan pairs? Yes, very aggressive. We had to separate one pair of swans. They were bothering other birds on the pond. Sometimes they would attack even people. They didn't let anyone in. Here they are a little calmer. They do not see pelicans as competitors. The visitors of the zoo like to photograph flamingos. There is a small flock in the Almaty Zoo. Flamingos have their very distinct pink color due to the tiny brine shrimp Artemia salina in their diet. Not carrots, no other orange-colored food. Flamingos get their color from these little shrimps. What a beautiful, graceful bird! Zoo technician Yelena Potapenko said that for the first time in the history of the Almaty Zoo, 2 female flamingos became mothers. But the eggs laid by the birds had to be hatched in an incubator. The chicks successfully hatched out, and a week later they stood on their feet. Modern zoo is a man-made environment that is trying to replicate nature as close as possible. The purpose of zoos is not in simply displaying animals, it is preservation of rare representatives of fauna, creation of comfortable living conditions for them, and often returning the extinct species back to the wild. Therefore, people need zoos. And for the younger generation, a walk in the zoo is a surge of emotions, the joy of exploring nature, an acquaintance of the world unknown.